Sorry, I cut it down.
Yes.
Hi guys, and welcome to the F1 debate show, and a pretty special video because we are finally together. Like, that's Jordan right
Not
there.
official.
No, not official. We just didn't have that much time to kind of record like in our normal surroundings. So basically we're doing this special video kind of when we got together to talk about the new topic, and it's a pretty big one. That's why we're kind of together, which is which is good. And it's about the one I'm wearing right here.
Yep.
As you'll have seen, the German Grand Prix was very, very thrilling, and it was shared by, this podium was shared by the two guys who were involved in trading places, Max Verstappen and Daniil Kvyat. An amazing drive from the young Russian, and youngish. And he was at Red Bull Racing, so we're not going to be talking about Verstappen in this video, but we are going to be talking about Kvyat. And then, as I've just said, we're going to be talking about this guy at Red Bull. A guy who he didn't replace.
No.
He came in a similar path to Daniil Kvyat. He came through the Toro Rosso foundations, was spotted quite early. Pierre Gasly was only there for 1 year, and then 1 and a bit years, and he was spotted by Red Bull to replace the outgoing Daniel Ricciardo and came into Red Bull. Bit of a topsy-turvy kind of season. His best finish was P4 at the British Grand Prix, which we saw, including an amazing P1 in FP1, which, practice.
It's practice, yeah.
So yes, Pierre Gasly doing okay mixed results. I mean, to be honest, before Silverstone, it was kind of rumoured that it was like, should Pierre go? Obviously, Christian Horner and people like that, did shoot that down. Pierre is here to stay. And we said kind of a lot of the time we should give him time to adapt and, get into the team. Silverstone came around, amazing. Pierre Gasly's doing really well. And then Germany came around and, a really bad performance by Pierre Gasly. But on the flip side, an amazing performance by Daniil Kvyat. It has been confirmed that Pierre Gasly won't be replaced this season by Daniil Kvyat. But basically, we're going to be talking about, was that the right move to say that? And
pretty much going forward, isn't it?
Yeah, so next year and going forward, will Daniil Kvyat, two kind of things, because we have said Daniil Kvyat going back to Red Bull would be kind of redemption.
Yeah.
But should he replace Pierre Gasly on these performances, or should we revert back to what we said a few races ago, which is give the Frenchman time? So Jordan, you're finally with me right now.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
It's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you eventually.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, 2005, rocking the 2005. Yeah,
2006 actually.
2006.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Come on.
Moving forward in the world. And then so kicking it off, Pierre Gasly. How is he going so far? How is he going for a Red Bull driver? And ultimately, is he better than Daniil Kvyat's results were?
Well, first of all, I think the German Grand Prix was just the worst the worst race that Gasly could have ever asked for. And if there was ever a race that he didn't want Kvyat to be on the podium, it was that one. Because Gasly's, don't get me wrong, Gasly was very, very good at Silverstone. That was a race where we thought, is this the turning point in Gasly's season? Is this when he actually kicks on and gets the results? But Germany just it was just gone, out of the water, quite literally in some sense, because I know that it was the wet and it was rain. It was quite difficult to drive. But Gasly, intermediates, softs, hard, medium, whatever, he just didn't have the grip. I know some drivers didn't, and I know Gasly did well in some way to keep it out the barriers until at the very end he hit Albon, which again, you could be aquaplaning, you could be going off left, right, and centre, but ultimately he collided into another driver in a way, and he was quite lucky probably not to get the penalty for that one, in my opinion, but. Yeah, it's not going well for Kvyat, and obviously, for Gasly, but for Daniil Kvyat, perfect if he's actually being considered for that Red Bull seat, which he definitely should be. Perfect time to do so. And yes, I know people are saying, okay, he got lucky getting into P3, but then he could argue by saying, okay, Verstappen was lucky to win. Vettel was kind of lucky to go into P2 because of who was in front of him at the time, like Stroll, the McLaren, and obviously Daniil Kvyat as well. But nevertheless, he finished in third place, and that's it. He finished in third place. That's brilliant. And so obviously, like Lyle said, Gasly is here to stay for the end of the season. So from now on, Gasly has got to deliver and get results ASAP, starting from Hungary. At a track where I'm not predicting a good Grand Prix. I know that the last three have been really, really good, but I can't say anything big happening at this one. But if Gasly does have a good Grand Prix, this could be, again, hopefully like Silverstone, a starting block of where he gets some decent results. Because he needs them, in my opinion. But there's a high chance that Gasly is going to be sacked from Red Bull at the end of the season. And I'm pleased that they are sticking with him towards the end of the season. But the question is really, will actually Daniil Kvyat be the driver to replace Pierre Gasly? Because the thing that frustrates me, right, is they brought in Daniil Kvyat after into Red Bull after one season at Toro Rosso in 2015. He had his debut in 2014, came into 2015. He did an alright job. I mean, the car wasn't exactly brilliant, but I think he beat Daniel Ricciardo in that season, so obviously brilliant on his behalf. Then 2016 came about, and then I thought he was unfortunate to lose his seat to Verstappen. Bit of tactics going on.
Well, firstly, he outscored him in China, and I think he was ahead of him in the World Drivers' Championship at that point. In my eyes, it was only because of Russia 2016, which was. I just couldn't really understand it, and I don't think we'll ever really understand it. Even though Verstappen's doing incredible, I don't think we'll really ever understand.
I think there was a lot of pressure on Red Bull to put Verstappen in that seat, and I think Jos would have persuaded him in some sort of way to put him in that seat.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he went back to Toro Rosso, and then in 2017 he got replaced after I think it was Singapore, then got brought back for the American Grand Prix, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then went off on a year out in 2018. To go off to the Ferrari development drivers. And we all thought that was the last we would see of Daniil Kvyat. But no, he comes back in 2019, and I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh dear, is this the right call?" But it's proven to be that at the moment.
And he was back there to rewrite some wrongs.
Exactly,
like we even said
which is what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing that. But if you do the same again and take out Gasly after one season and put Kvyat in that seat, what happens if he doesn't start delivering the results and he gets results the same or even worse than Gasly? Then what do they do? Because they've got to be right about this decision, what they do, whether they keep Gasly or re-sign Daniil Kvyat. Because realistically, it's going to be one of those two drivers. I know Albon's name's flipped over, but they should avoid Albon at all costs because of what they've done in the past and what they're doing now. Don't sign a driver after one season when they're not ready. They're nowhere near ready enough. I know people are looking at Lando Norris, but I think Norris has adapted to that car a lot better. Pierre Gasly just can't drive that car for loss of money. But then, they need to really concentrate and hopefully, in my opinion, give Gasly another chance in 2020, because that's the best way of doing it. Right, it was a development year for Pierre Gasly, but 2020 needs to be the key, and if he's not delivering the results halfway through next season, then get rid of him, then consider a replacement, because there are quite limited of options, aren't there, when it comes to the driver market, because they haven't got anyone realistically in their youth ranks. I think one name that's floating about is Patrice O'Ward, who came from IndyCar into Formula 2, and now he's doing Super Formula. Dan Tickton was another one, but now he's been released and he's now gone, so there's no one really that they can go from their ranks, which is what they normally do. And other drivers from around the grid, I mean, who would come to Red Bull? Like Nico Hülkenberg's name has been cropped up.
We've talked about that.
We spoke about that. No, but it would be a good chance. What? Chance Leclerc. It would be a good chance on them, but again, he's how old is he? 30, 31-year-old. He's getting on a bit, so not for the future. And Red Bull need results, and they need to be bashing on the door for second place, possibly to fight for the World Championship in the future, because they've got two young drivers who can take them forward, but one of them isn't delivering, and one of them is always, linked for other seats. But either way, Verstappen's still delivering the results, but Gasly is nowhere near that. But I think for me, I don't want this to happen, but I can see Kvyat being in that seat next season, definitely. Without giving too much away in our predictions, but that's at this moment, that's what I'm thinking now. I might change my mind come when we make our predictions for next season, but. And for me, Gasly will definitely go back to Toro Rosso, like what I said before, they're very limited with options. But going forward, and this is where Verstappen comes into the fold. If Verstappen does leave for the likes of Mercedes and Ferrari, which they'll be monitoring Verstappen, where does he go? What does he do after 2020? If he does sign for one of those teams, who do Red Bull bring in? And in my opinion, that's when Pierre Gasly will come back to Red Bull, because he'll have another year out at Toro Rosso, have another year of development, or even 2 years of development, then bring him back in Red Bull and see how he does. Because if he's not doing the results in Toro Rosso, don't sign him back for Red Bull. But if he is, then give him a chance. Because if you remember at the start of the season, they said that Pierre Gasly was not ready for that seat. So that's what I'm saying. Give him another season. If he wasn't ready the first season, give him another season. Because he can't just say, okay, he's done bad this season, then get rid of him. No, give him a chance.
If anything, they brought him in to They admitted, like you just said there, they admitted that they only brought him in to replace Daniil Ricciardo because, Daniil Ricciardo leaving, a little bit like when Mark Webber left. That was such a shock to people. Also, Fernando Alonso leaving Ferrari. It was mainly that. I've got to say, the big shock in the last few years was Daniil Ricciardo leaving Red Bull, and he released it after about the summer break this time last year. Yeah, it didn't give them that much time to find someone because even back then they didn't have many people. With Carlos Sainz, he was very strong at Renault. He would then eventually get signed by McLaren in the next few weeks after that. So they were running out of options, and they only signed, as you just said there, they only signed Pierre Gasly to replace Daniil Ricciardo. And to say that straight away that he isn't ready, it's kind of like just shifting the blame in a very unfortunate thing, because he's not ready, right? Well, he'll never be ready, but that's not the point. You're supposed to adapt and bring it in. But as you said, Jordan, about Red Bull are a team where they're expected to deliver yesterday, and I can't believe that they're kind of playing these games with Gasly. Give him time to stay in, and I hate the idea that we're always talking about being replaced by Alexander Albon, Daniil Kvyat, or anybody else, Nico Hülkenberg. You need to give him a chance to adapt with that Red Bull car, because there's no guarantee that they're going to bring in someone like, I want to use Albon as an example.
Right,
let's use there was quite a few races, especially after China, that they used Albon as an example to replace Gasly. But what happens if they bring Albon in? He will most likely do what Gasly did, and obviously take time to adapt to the car. And Silverstone was round 10, and to get P4 in that race and an FP1, get P1 and FP1, which are a lot of ones, to do that shows that he is adapting to that car. I would say non-adapting is just retiring all the time, John, and that's exactly not what he's doing. He's not retiring all the time. He is having good results. It's just unfortunate that he might not have adapted to as well as another driver would have, but better than Hartley, because Brendan Hartley, if they chose him, definitely he would have adapted better than him. It's just possibly not the accelerated start that Red Bull were expecting.
Because Gasly is a good driver, don't get me wrong. He is a really good driver. He's done some bits in the younger ranks, and he's always been the one that's crossed my mind as a future world champion before he came into Formula 1. And a lot of people are saying that when he was at Toro Rosso, he was made to look a lot better because you had Brendan Hartley, who had just came from sports car racing into Formula 1 from nothing, and Gasly was already prepared. A bit like George Russell, Robert Kubica. Robert Kubica won't be used to driving these kind of modern day cars.
Yeah.
Russell is much more prepared for Formula 1 this day and age than Robert Kubica was.
Even though Kubica has a point and George doesn't.
Exactly, which is kind of a bit...
Which is strange.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes George want to get one more, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like in saying that, I think, Gasly, like I said, there was signs there that he was adapting to the car at Silverstone. Hungary, it's a good result, but realistically, he's up against some really good drivers in the Sebastian Vettel, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, his teammate. He's rare chance he's going to beat the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Unless they retire and have another problem like what they did in Germany. But if they do, it's like I say, if Kvyat does come in the team, it's another gamble. A bit like what they're saying that you should bring in Albon. It's another gamble. It's gamble after gamble after gamble. And I'm sorry, but it's not working. The only driver that's kind of worked, in a way, is Verstappen. Vettel came into Red Bull at the time when the regulations changed. Like when Hamilton came into Mercedes. He came in at the right time, and that's why he was delivering the results, and that's why he was doing so good. Because people are saying, all right, Ricardo going to Renault was like Hamilton going to Mercedes. It's like, not really, because Mercedes was at the point of when they had them regulations spot on. Renault were going through no sort of engine regulations at the time, or any kind of aero regulations, so it was difficult for Ricardo to adapt quite quickly. In that sense, it's all, and obviously it's all different when you play it like that. But lost track of what I was saying there, but obviously
someone just walked past. That was really loud.
Yeah, it was really loud. Bringing someone else in, it might work, but again, it's just gamble. Like I said, it's just gamble after gamble. And Red Bull need to find a different solution, whether they're bringing an experienced driver for now, then puts the likes of Gasly or someone else in that Toro Rosso car for a couple of years, either Albon or Gasly, bring him back in when they are ready, definitely ready, then go from there, because you've got to be certain, if you're going to a top team, you've got to be certain that this driver is good. And I know Gasly was the only option, but they shouldn't be too harsh on him, because I'm thinking, well, if he was the only option, why being so harsh on him? Because he's kind of saved your ass in a way because you didn't have another driver. Otherwise, you would have to break your tradition and go off to a driver that's not in your driver academy.
Yep.
Or never has been.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit. And like I said, it is all topsy turvy. But I don't want this episode to be talking about the negatives and what ifs of Gasly, because I want to talk about Kvyat's performance at Germany, because let's forget about the history that he's had. Well, actually, in a way, no. Yes, let's forget about that, because this season he's doing so well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's driving the best he possibly can in that the Toro Rosso Honda as well. He's outpacing Albon, who's a younger teammate. Who normally, when you have a younger teammate, there is a lot of pressure onto you because you're expected to do better because you've got more experience. Like for example, Ferrari, Vettel was kind of expected to beat Leclerc like he was to beat Ricciardo, but he didn't. He's not at the moment. Well, he is, but you could argue that Leclerc was unlucky to crash at Germany, but that's for another story. But Daniil Kvyat is doing bits at the moment, and I'm really proud of him at the moment. I'm really supportive of him. I was never like a fan or a hater of Daniil Kvyat. I was like, Kvyat, yeah, he's good. Yeah. But like, the more I'm seeing him this season, the more I'm starting to grow into him, and I'm thinking, I'm starting to like him. And these results are definitely helping him. Maybe not. I mean, I can't see him getting a Ferrari. See, that's probably out of the question. The best he can ask for at this moment in time is the Red Bull seat, and he'll know that he'll be in contention with that. So he's got to keep on delivering the results. And if he does go back into Red Bull, he's got to deliver, which I believe now he will, and I know he will, because he's been through a lot of rubbish that he's went through in the past. Like I said, 2016 was bad, being demoted. Like you said, he was going through depression. He was going through a lot of really bad times, and then to come up from the ashes and be reborn again, it's brilliant, isn't it? Like, what's your thoughts on Daniil Kvyat? Like, I know you're like a Red Bull fan as well. Yeah, so would you like to see him in Red Bull next season?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when Daniil Kvyat was first brought in, I thought that he was a good driver. They'd done this before. They'd done this 3 major times. They'd brought in Sebastian Vettel from Toro Rosso, who'd only been there 1 year. In 2008, brought in 2009. They'd done it with Daniel Ricciardo. 2012 brought it in for 2013 brought it in 2014. And then the third time was a charm to replace Sebastian Vettel with Daniil Kvyat, and I thought that was an amazing decision. 2015, he did well. He was up there with Daniel Ricciardo, to be honest. But the only thing I can really remember from that season is 2015 Hungary, which actually is a race tomorrow, which is obviously the second and third with I think it was Seb on. No, it wasn't Seb on the podium. I think it was Lewis on the podium. So they shared it with him. That's the only real thing I can remember about the 2015 season in terms of their performance. But Gasly, there's a lot of names. Kvyat was definitely there, getting the performances. And then 2016 came around. Obviously, again, we're not going to hash up what happened on the trading places. But then podium in China, he did well. And then after all this move, you had to kind of feel for Kvyat a little bit. What was happening, why he was getting treated like this way. I don't think, even though Verstappen now is it 8 wins now going for 9. 7 wins going for 8.
7 wins going for 8. Yeah.
7 going for 8. I don't think we'll actually really understand why that decision was pushed so hard and why Kvyat was treated so badly. But when he came back in this year, and we said it on the prediction, especially I said it, was it's kind of a bit like redemption, for him to now do well at Toro Rosso, just to kind of show people that he wasn't just the guy who was treated quite badly by Formula One. I do think he's doing well, and to be honest, I do agree with Jordan. I think that if anyone was going to replace Gasly, it would be Kvyat, because he has the experience. There's 2 people I would think would be in that position, but obviously one's already been signed, and that's the clue, because it's actually Sainz. And I also believe that kind of in an indirect way, that's why McLaren signed him really fast, because they thought that, well, Norris might go somewhere else because he is doing very well. Out of all the rookies, he's doing incredibly well, probably one of the best. But then also Sainz might go to Red Bull, because he wasn't the Toro Rosso program, the Red Bull Junior program. He was a Toro Rosso. I believe that Carlos might have been approached, and because now he's signed completely with McLaren for another season, then maybe obviously that's now that's not going to happen. But Kvyat is definitely somebody who can replace Gasly, and I do think I'd really like to see that. I'd like to see Kvyat back at Red Bull, and I'd also like to see those 2 together, because again, like I opened this episode, I said that it was Verstappen and it was Kvyat on the podium, and I'm hoping that Verstappen kind of remembered the training places, and that's why they were so kind of, hugging and having a photo together.
Yeah, it was
nice,
it's almost
it's almost like Verstappen is remembering Kvyat, and what actually happened. Because there's no doubt that Verstappen probably is feeling quite bad about what had happened. That, Verstappen didn't want to kind of get in the way where his only success is to kind of kick a driver down to Toro Rosso, especially at that point when Verstappen didn't really know how he was going to get on at Red Bull and how anybody did. It's no secret that obviously when Spain did change Max's dynamics, so when he was brought in, he probably did kind of feel quite badly for Kvyat. And I remember that press conference; it was quite awkward. You remember in Spain 2016 when it was an awkward press conference. So I think Kvyat coming back would be good. I do like him as a driver. I think Toro Rosso, he is doing well out of that car, sharing results with Albon. At one point, obviously, Albon was outscoring him, but obviously now after that third place, definitely Kvyat, he's moved into the top 10. Albon has took a bit of a dive. I think it's 15th position now for him, so that's quite low. And then, Kvyat. It's not a competition between those two, but I like to think that now we've kind of landed on the dice that if somebody is going to replace Gasly, it's going to be Kvyat.
Yeah.
And we're not going to play these games of it's going to be Albon, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and obviously now Helmut Marko has sorted that it's Kvyat's not going to be replaced. Sorry, Gasly's not going to be replaced at the end of the season.
I think just quick on Albon. I think despite that he scored I think he finished in P5 or P6 in the race.
Yeah.
He was still in 15th place, even though drivers around him were moving up and down. He still stayed in 15th place. So unlucky for him, but anyways. But I was a bit like I was thinking there when I was touching on there about Carlos Sainz, because at the time when Ricciardo left for Renault, Carlos Sainz was he was loaned out to Renault. He got signed by Renault at the end of 2017 and then joined for full in 2018. And he was there on loan for Red Bull because Red Bull and Renault were obviously engine suppliers and stuff. But Carlos Sainz decided to cut ties with him once Renault and Red Bull cut their ties, because Carlos Sainz was so frustrated that he wouldn't be able to get the Red Bull seat. But I don't know why. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. If I am wrong with this, because I'm sure that he was still part of the Red Bull program when he was at Renault. But why didn't Red Bull go for Sainz rather than Gasly?
I don't know. Well,
unless they knew he was already going to McLaren long before we knew.
Obviously, things could happen without us knowing. So Ricciardo left at the. It was about a week after Hungary. So obviously the Hungarian Grand Prix, which is the penultimate race. So
it was in the summer break.
So obviously it was Hungary, then Germany, then the summer break, and Ricciardo said that he was going to leave during the summer break. And then McLaren was signed. I remember it was I was working in Belgium. It was actually when I was in Belgium. So just before the summer break actually ended. And in that space, you're right, Carlos Sainz was kind of a free agent. He was driving for Renault, but there was a thing about whether you're going to keep his seat. Who was going to take that Renault seat alongside Danny Rick, who had signed with Renault? Is it going to be Carlos Sainz, ex-teammate at Toro Rosso? I would say that would be quite good to see, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
or would Nico Hülkenberg, Mr. Neelyman, would he keep his seat? And to be honest, Jordan, you're actually kind of right. Some of that was never thought about. Why? And he was loaned out. Why would Carlos Sainz not be brought in at Toro Rosso? I don't know. And what was so special about Pierre Gasly? Not meaning this in a bad way, because again, it's normal progression. Obviously, someone's got to move forward. For example, Charles Leclerc had to move from Sauber, as they were called last year, to Ferrari this year. And obviously they're not going to take into consideration other drivers who have driven for Sauber in the past. But yeah, you're right. That's actually that's actually kind of a bit of a thinking topic, really. Why did they not actually consider Sainz?
Yeah.
And then they took Gasly.
I mean, if anybody watching this video knows why they didn't, because at this moment I don't know a reason why, unless it's like I said that Red Bull didn't think about Sainz, they didn't care about Sainz, or they knew that he was going to McLaren, that McLaren already approached him, or maybe Sainz said no. Maybe he said to Renault and going, right, after the season with Renault, we're cutting ties.
And kind of going off what you were saying, is there actually something where Sainz was kind of neglected by Red Bull? Because again, the trading places, of course it was about Verstappen, but I'm like, okay, we're going to start again. Let's go start slowly. Before Spain 2016, Max was really nothing. I don't say nobody.
He was a
hot
prospect. He was talked about a lot in the media.
But so was Carlos Sainz.
Yeah,
and
it was his debut as well in 2015.
Yeah. So why wasn't Carlos Sainz brought in instead of Max Verstappen? I'm just saying Carlos Sainz, unfortunately, had a little bit of a treacherous kind of road with Red Bull, didn't he?
Yeah.
It didn't seem like he was kind of put on the pedestal. that like Verstappen was, and he wasn't promoted and blah blah blah. And that's also why he went out to Renault, because a bit like a football loan, really. It's like you're not getting the opportunity at this football team. We're going to loan you out to another football team, see how you get on, and then obviously you'll come back to our football team. And then Toro Rosso or Red Bull even, they loaned him out to Renault, but then obviously they should have recalled him at the end of the season or something. So actually that's a good point that you realise that you've brought up. And then where did almost McLaren come from in that situation?
It's not, and this isn't the first time that Red Bull have looked over drivers, because in 2015 when Vettel had left, at the end of 2014 when Vettel announced he was leaving Red Bull, why did Red Bull go to choose Daniil Kvyat over Jean-Eric Vergne for that 2015 season? Bear in mind that Kvyat, that was his debut year in 2015, and Jean-Eric Vergne had been there since 2011, 2012.
I think they're trying to just find the new Sebastian Vettel.
They were like they were trying to look towards the future a bit too soon, and I was just like that's why Jean-Eric Vergne left Toro Rosso, because he thought, well, hang on a minute, I'm here, I want to get that big drive, that's why I'm here, and that's why he was fed up with Formula One and said, nah, I'm having none of this, which I understand. And a bit like Carlos Sainz, it was like you've looked over two very well experienced drivers. I don't know how well Vergne would have done, but I mean he's doing bits in Formula E now. He's won the championship twice, so I mean he's there. The speed is there. I think Vergne would have done a lot better job than what Kvyat would have done, perhaps. But of course, we'll never know. It's only just words, isn't it? So we'll never know that. And like Sainz, would Sainz be doing a better job than Gasly now? In my opinion, yes, because he's doing really, really well at McLaren. I've got a little stat for you guys, off the top of my head, right? So Carlos Sainz didn't score any points in the first 3 races, okay? So in the 8 rounds since that, I'm sure that Sainz scored 42 points and Gasly's only scored 40 points since then. So what does that tell you? I'm sure it's something like I'm sure Sainz has scored more points than Gasly has in that space of time.
Also as well,
8 races. Bearing in mind that Gasly did score points before Carlos Sainz.
One thing I was actually just thinking about when you were just saying that, about why did Carlos Sainz go to McLaren and he was looked over by Red Bull? Well, again, maybe it was because of the engine suppliers. For example, Daniel Ricciardo went to Renault because it was Red Bull Renault and he didn't want to see Red Bull Honda go. Maybe it was
this the driver that was complaining about the Renault engines but then went to Renault?
That was it. So basically, Verstappen retired from the Hungarian Grand Prix, and they both had problems all the way through the season and all the way through 2017. And I remember Daniel Ricciardo leaving. One of the reasons was engine reliability. Also, one of the reasons was Verstappen, but it was about engine reliability. And then he went with a Renault. He went with the works team or the manufacturer, whatever the main one, the route of Renault.
With the Renault.
He went with Renault, and then also that's the same with Carlos. Maybe he didn't want to go to. Well, it was Toro Rosso Honda at the time. He was loaned out to Renault because it was Toro Rosso Honda, and then he went to McLaren Renault, because then it was going to be Toro Rosso Honda. Go on, Henderson. It was going to be It was going to be Toro Rosso Honda, and it was also going to be Red Bull Honda as well. Carlos Sainz didn't actually drive in the Honda. He's never driven a Honda. He's always driven a Renault. A Renault. So maybe it's a little bit like Daniel Ricciardo that he chose engine suppliers over the team. But then obviously, as you were just saying about the points, of course that's Carlos Sainz. I agree totally. Carlos Sainz would have done better than Gasly because he has experience. He's had the experience at Toro Rosso. When I say experience, I mean exactly what you just said about Jeff. It's longer than a year, and oh my! Are they trying to still look for the new Sebastian Vettel? Is that all that Red Bull are trying to do?
They're just gambling because, like I said before, they're just gambling because it was a gamble for McLaren to sign Norris. Because you think, like, 18 years old at the time, 19-year-old, and you think, oh god. But it was also a gamble them signing Max Verstappen as well.
Oh, definitely.
And in a way, it was like the gamble didn't really pay off because, well, as I said, at the first half of the season, Verstappen had the speed, he just didn't have the consistency. He kept crashing. One race he would crash, the next minute he would do absolute bits. I know 2018 was more of a reliability problem, so you can't really judge him on that. But even so, I mean, he spun in Australia. He had a couple of spins that year as well. But then, as the second half of the season went on, he improved. And then I think his stats since Belgium last year, he hasn't finished lower than 5th. So,
do you know what, on an off topic as well? Do you know why I think that also improved Verstappen? Because Ricciardo had said that he was leaving. Obviously, his teammates, I imagine that they got on quite, okay. Obviously, there has to be a buffer between teammates. But the first race, I mean, technically you can't have said Germany. It depends when they said it. But really, the first race we knew Ricciardo was leaving was Belgium, and that's when you've just said, Verstappen's never finished lower than 5th. You never know, that might have improved.
It was definitely the summer break, and it was before Belgium because I remember the big talking point for us in the debate show was
First one back, actually.
It was the big thing. I think it was one of the influences why we came. Obviously, we had like a bit of a break at halfway through 2018. We didn't do half the season. We just stopped. But then we wanted to talk about this so much because it was such a big topic, and probably Ricardo leaving was probably one of the best things that has happened for us personally.
And I've got a quiz for everyone that's watching to see who's a diehard fan.
Go on then.
We did a live episode. Oh my god, we actually did as well. So this isn't the first one. That's creepy.
Oh wow.
So we went somewhere. We did a live. It wasn't a live. We did like a recorded episode where I could actually again prod him like that.
Don't touch me.
And we did a video together. Where was that? And please leave your answers down in the comment section below, and that'll show who's actually a diehard F1 Debate Show fan. Which obviously you don't want that title. I got a top fan badge from Facebook for being on the Formula One page. I know. Thank you.
Well
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Right.
You don't clap yourself. But yeah, it's amazing. Thank you very much. But you don't get a badge for being an F1 Debate Show fan, unfortunately.
We can make them. I mean, like Blue Peter badges.
We can, yeah. We can.
I mean, we can send F1 Debate Show badges.
We can do, yeah, we can. But yeah, so let's go back to...
Yes.
Yeah, so exactly, we came back to somewhere through Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, so I just want to quickly answer the last question before we wrap up, because obviously it's getting on a bit. I'm going to go and get some food because I'm hungry. He's probably hungry too. And he gets angry when he's hungry. You don't want to see him when he's hungry.
I do, I get
very good. But anyway, so the last question is, right, I said this at the start of the video, near enough to start of the video.
Uh-huh.
If Daniil Kvyat does come in next season, which chances are he will, but right, let's say he officially does. So it's the winter break. Red Bull confirmed that Kvyat is replacing Pierre Gasly. And we're at this point in 2020. And Gasly, no, sorry, not Gasly. So confusing. I do apologise. Daniil Kvyat hasn't got the results.
Right.
Like Gasly, he's not performed well. He hasn't got any podiums. He's not doing well at all. It's like it's just a different kind of driver.
Yeah.
What did they do? Do they replace him? If so, who with? I haven't. Sorry, mate. That's that again.
Yeah, start again.
No, ask the question again. So it's at the halfway stage of 2020. If Daniil Kvyat hasn't got any podiums, or he's not doing really well, and he's not really on par on Verstappen, who will probably chances are be there next season.
Yeah.
He's contracted anyway, but that still means nothing. But nevertheless, and he's still nowhere near Verstappen's pace. Do they, one, replace him, and two, who with?
They're running out of people.
Exactly. There's no one in the book anymore.
So he's got right close to Daniil Kvyat's face off, Verstappen's face. There's a lot of face in this. Face off. So they're having a face off. Oh my god.
Wow.
That was actually on the camera, thankfully. That much. You got half of Jordan in there. But yeah, okay. So would I like to see that? I know you didn't ask that, but would I like to see that? Yes, of course I would.
Yeah.
Firstly, for me, I'll have to spend money on this.
I know.
What a waste.
Don't waste his money.
Well, I'll tell you something. Actually, I've told you this many times before. But when I was going to buy when I was going to buy merch for Red Bull in 2016 for us going to Silverstone for British Week, if anyone knows what that is.
Oh.
And I said that obviously I bought a number 3 cab, but I told you that I was just very close to buying a 26 cab. I told you that, didn't I?
They're rare.
Very. And I saw someone wearing that the other day. I got Red Bull.
There
26.
was some being sold at Silverstone.
There was obviously
in the F1.
Like the
retail. What's it called?
Outlets. F1 outlet. Yeah. So they sell like last year's stuff. They were selling Force India stuff, or as David Croft said,
Racing Point, or whatever you want to call it.
Or whatever you want to call it. Alfa Romeo, Sauber, Spiker, Jordan F1
Tyrrell,
Brawn.
Whatever you want.
James Hunt, Nicky Lauda. But yeah, would I like to see that? Yes, of course I would. I do think that would be a great addition to have those two back. We've talked a lot about trading places and again, like kind of becoming chummy in that, and again, like what had happened on the podium. You know, those two being together. So of course that would be great to see. If they're at that position where Daniil Kvyat's not scoring points, I think Red Bull just need to give their driver just a little bit more kind of enthusiasm to help, because, you know, Red Bull expect their drivers to achieve stuff yesterday. It's quite kind of, it's a little bit harsh from them. They expect them to get the results yesterday, and they very much built the team around Verstappen, and they're not giving the support. And if anything, that's a little bit why Mark Webber left Red Bull because he knew that they were giving all the support to Sebastian Vettel and not Mark Webber.
I mean, they built the team around Vettel, and
Yeah.
now they're building the team around Verstappen, which it's perfectly clear to do so.
Yeah, too.
Maybe that's affecting Gasly in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe Gasly doesn't like that. I mean, I don't know.
I think they
Could
just.
be
I think they also need to give a driver another bit of help. Ferrari is a definite apparent because there's no way. Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel's a 4-time world champion. There is no inkling that they are putting Vettel ahead of Leclerc, is there? Not at all. I don't believe Ferrari have ever done that. The only thing that might be apparent is things like strategies. Strategy A, strategy B. The better one might be for Sebastian Vettel, but I do think that they are very much similar. And if anything, if Leclerc's on the charge, they will give the better resources to Leclerc. But they're being quite fair. Mercedes are quite fair. And obviously other teams as well going down the grid. But then Red Bull are very much Verstappen based. Even Mercedes don't actually look like they're Hamilton based. They don't like they've built the team around Hamilton. Yeah. They're taking into consideration Valtteri Bottas as well. So Red Bull are the only kind of the niche one out of all them. If Kvyat comes back, hopefully he will be taken in by open arms, and hopefully Dr. Helmut Marko and Christian Horner and all that will be saying. Well, Christian Horner will be saying two things, Jordan. The first one will be saying, I said that about Hamilton versus Verstappen. The F1 debate show didn't say that. We were only talking about what Christian Horner or I said.
Yeah.
The second thing is that hopefully it's kind of righting a bit of a wrong, or it's a bit of redemption, getting Daniil Kvyat back in, and hopefully it'll be a good partnership. But if it isn't, like you've just said, they just need to give him time, I think.
Yeah.
They just need to give somebody time. They just need to let a driver get on with it. Yeah, because, again, like Sebastian Vettel, it's been ages since he's won a championship. It's been ages since he's really had a drive and he's led the World Championship. He hasn't led the World Championship since Germany 2018. And that might be a bit of a shock because he's a second-place team and the first-place driver in that team and a 4-time World Champion. But he hasn't been really on top, and obviously we're coming up to 12 months. Well, 11 months now. 11 months ago, he won his last race in Belgium. So,
Madness.
just give Kvyat time. But I'll tell you something, though. They'll have made some massive errors in their judgment if they've had Gasly, no result, and then they've had to bring in Kvyat. And, yeah, they're going to give him more time. But I do feel like everything will be a bit more relaxed if Kvyat came in.
Yeah,
because
I think
it'd be
so.
like to make up for what had happened in the training places.
As I said, I'll always stand by saying you need to give Gasly a second season. I know that people might not agree with me on that. I know people might hate Gasly with a passion. There might be some Gasly fans out there, but Red Bull...
Me.
Exactly. Red Bull need to give him a chance. Give him 2020. And if he's not delivering 2020, then replace him in halfway through the season. Unless, of course, if you have a replacement for him. If not, then consider your options for 2021.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But you can't, after a season, no, don't. Because you looked over a fair few drivers, like we said, Johnny Vergne, Sainz, who are part of their programme. And they have let a few people go. And now all of a sudden they seem to be regurgitating these drivers. Like Gasly coming back in, Daniil Kvyat coming back in, Hartley coming back in, Albon coming back in. He was supposed to drive in Formula E for last season. The season just gone, and then
bits are coming back in.
Exactly. So, well, yeah. But I mean, like Red Bull is regurgitating the drivers. So, like, if Kvyat does come in my opinion, anyways, to end on, if Kvyat does come in 2020, he's not delivering. Give him time still. Give him all the way at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because for me, I can't see anybody replacing him at that given stage, because I've got a feeling that Red Bull will change their drivers. If Gasly starts winning races, then no, they won't.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't if he doesn't give the results, then I'm pretty certain that Red Bull will get rid of him, despite me not wanting them to, and him definitely not because of the t-shirt.
Yeah.
And his Red Bull supporter, of course.
It's not just all about the t-shirt.
It's not about the t-shirt.
But I did play my cards right by not getting any Kvyat stuff.
You did, exactly. That was a smart move.
That was.
Thank
you.
So, exactly.
Only one I've ever made.
Exactly.
Well, definitely not this isn't.
Oh, Jesus. So as I say, give Gasly a chance. And then if Kvyat is in next season, then let's see how he does. But nevertheless, it's going to be a complicated one. Hopefully, we'll know more by the end of the season. But I think we should wrap it on that note. What do you think?
I do.
Yes.
But I think they should.
Anything else to say?
But I think they should just give Gasly a bit more of a chance.
Yeah,
I really do.
I do.
But Red Bull just don't need this headache at the moment, because they've got this. Actually, do you know what? There's one last thing I do want to ask you.
Okay.
It's not on this topic, but I just wanted to ask you, and I was going to just ask you, in town. So Red Bull don't need this headache because they're going for bigger and better things. They're locked in third place in the Constructors, but they're not locked in. So Verstappen can still win races, and of course he can be, because Austria was an incredible race. Germany, I'd still say Austria was better than Germany, because, as I said in the preview show, gave Sebastian about 10 more laps and he could have won the race, which I would have loved to have seen. Verstappen probably will win a race, possibly by the end of the season. But the big thing is that we thought a few races ago Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton would never be caught, and there's only 2 people in contention for the World Championship. Okay, the second thing will leave. Let's say Hamilton really is, he's running away with it, and Valtteri Bottas is slowly catching him up. But Verstappen's only 21 points behind Valtteri Bottas at this time. So, do you think Verstappen can actually get into second place in the the drivers, and separate the 2 Mercedes?
Oh, definitely. I think Valtteri Bottas will know this, and Mercedes will know this, and Bottas' seat is under consideration, right? And I've always said that Bottas, if he doesn't get that seat for next season, I'll riot. I'm not a Mercedes fan, I'm not a Bottas fan, but if you sign him for 2018 after he had a very bad year, and you don't sign him for 2019 after he's challenging Hamilton, kind of, won 2 races, been on the podium multiple times, 3 pole positions in a row, he's having a much better year. If you don't sign him, what the hell? But
look at someone like Ocon.
Yeah,
hopefully now it's been, well, actually no, he's been let go, but hopefully now that's completely been eradicated. And since Ocon left, Jordan, nobody's actually been rumoured to take that Mercedes seat, thankfully.
Well, the one guy that is being talked about is George Russell, because Mercedes is looking for the future. But I think we should leave that for another episode.
Yes, we should.
We should before we go well off topic. But if Verstappen overtakes Bottas, then then again, saying that, I was going to say it might change Toto Wolff's mind, but they're talking about announcing Bottas' seat for August, his plans for August. So again, that might be totally relevant.
Well,
but it will look bad on Bottas' half if Verstappen overtakes and finishes in second place. But Verstappen-wise, brilliant, absolutely fantastic.
Show that there can be a challenge to Mercedes,
exactly.
which is absolutely incredible.
I mean, someone can split the.
And something that we thought that a few races ago couldn't actually have happened.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just wanted to say that, because I heard that obviously on the preview show, and definitely obviously he's doing a really good charge. I think after Verstappen winning Austria, I think possibly you thought, okay, that's probably about it from him, just really consistent results. But as I say, Germany really was incredible, and it came out of the blue. But as Jordan said, we're going to leave this episode there. We've mentioned quite a few things we're going to build on from later on. But yeah, it's a good place to end it there. So obviously, this is the end of the F1 debate. So thank you very much for watching today, guys. A special episode. We are outside together. I don't know why we're kind of building that up. So yes, what did you think of this episode? Obviously, we will back to our normal layout. This isn't a new thing.
No.
And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Obviously, let us know your opinions in the comment section below. Gasly, where do you think he's going? Do you think Kvyat should be in? Do you think Albon should be in? What do you think will happen? Everything we've talked about in this episode. So again, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for all of our new subscribers as well.
Yes,
if you're new around here, please like and subscribe the episode. Obviously, we are quickly growing. I think on the road to 800 at the moment. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure to stay on track for our Hungry review tomorrow, done by this guy. Yes, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.